Hi, my name is Dr. Gene Bienemy. I'm here to discuss about depression. First of all, I happen to be a licensed clinical social worker. I've been practicing for at least 19 years, and I've dealt with different type of population, solved different type of problems, whether it's depression, anger, bipolar, ADHD, and other mental illness. I just certainly want to discuss about depression because it's certainly been epidemic in our society. And I, if I'm not mistaken, the latest um, statistics on depression is at least 400 million people suffer from depression, and that could be actually higher. Um, it is an important topic to discuss because it affects a lot of people in our society, and there's some help. There's things that we all could do to help ourselves and to help each other to solve this problem. I want to just talk about what depression is not. Depression is different from bereavement. Um, Sometimes we people might perhaps lose a member of their family, friends, and they'll be most likely grieving. Depression is much long lasting than bereavement, and depression is persistent sadness and that occurs. So the person that's involved or usually will feel a sense of hopelessness. The activity that they usually would enjoy no longer would uh, encourage them or interest them anymore. So pretty much depression is just inability to feel any type of pleasure of anything that was once pleasurable. And anyone could that can happen to anyone. That can happen to anyone. Now bereavement is, as I said, a short term depression. It usually takes at least 2 weeks or longer. So, for example, if you have someone that passed away, then you might still be able to function at work, or you might still you're going to be depressed. You're not going to be happy, but it could turn to a depression, major depression disorder, once it gets worse. For example, when you continue to feel sadness to the point where you even get up in bed in the morning seem to be something hard. And also, there is with the depression, there's also somewhat like a low self-esteem. There's a lot of blame, self-blame, and frustration. So everything seems to be hard. For example, just walking from one room to the other all of a sudden seems to be something that's extremely painful. Getting out of bed in the morning, something be extremely painful, and you don't feel like doing nothing else but to just sleep. Now, some of the characteristics of depression could be, in addition to um, feeling sense of hopelessness and the inability to feel any type of pleasure. It's also you have it can affect your sleep. In some cases, for some people, they could sleep too much or not enough. And Also, one of the things about depression as well, that you are more likely to be irritated and frustrated. Um, and sometimes people mistake uh, uh, someone who has anger problem. They think that this person might suffer from just anger problem as opposed to depression. So definitely, once people that might be easily irritated and could also be candidate for depression. And the other thing that people that suffer from depression often do, they isolate themselves. So they withdraw themselves, and the isolation may not be good because a lot of time um, uh, people may isolate themselves and they may use drugs or alcohol to numb their pain, and that might be very dangerous. Um, and one of the things about depression is that you have a loss of energy, and you feel easily fatigued all the time. So as I said before, it's like you just don't have any energy to get up in the morning, to move around, and this is assuming that you used to be a person that's usually active, and so forth. And your change of appetite, you may, some cases, for some people they may eat a lot, and for some people they may not eat a lot as well. So that could be a problem as well. And the other thing too about, for some people that might suffer from depression, there's high risk of risky behaviors. So that means, as I mentioned before, using drugs, or actually alcohol, or even sexual behaviors, or even financial. Some people might feel like they want to spend a lot of money as a way to deal with their pain. And the other thing that could actually happen is suicidal tendencies. So people sometimes think about hurting themselves as well, and preoccupied with the whole idea of death. So depression is something is extremely dangerous, and there, and that affects a lot of people, and there's cures out there. There's things that people could do to improve. One of the things that I do, if, and by the way, if you know anybody that's suffering from depression, one of the things I would advise them to do is to seek some help, seek some professional help. For example, I help people that have those type of problem, and I'm also available to help anyone that might have those problems. And I'm through either through the telephone, or face-to-face individual counseling as well. So my number is 954 good 954-840 GOOD 954-840 GOOD. Okay, as far as the treatment is concerned, as we in addition to seeking help to a support system, some people tend to talk to friends, families, and that's not a bad thing. The only problem is that if you suffer from depression, then you need to speak to a professional. Your friends and family, there's so much they could do to help you, even though being with people is a good way. It helps with the depression as opposed to isolation. And the other thing that I would suggest to do is to make sure that you exercise. Exercise is great because it changes a lot of stuff. It sort of gives you, it helps with depression. Also, it releases a toxin, a chemical in your brain that makes you feel good. So definitely exercise is something that's recommended. It's recommended for 3 days a week for at least 30 to 45 minutes. And when I say exercise, I really mean that your heart rate need to be pumping, and you need to be sweaty, and pretty much out of breath. And so if you're able to do that 3 days a week, then you're doing well. So therefore, and the other thing too is that some people might actually, the last resort is really to get some medication, but medication to be given by a doctor or a psychiatrist, and or some medical doctors as well could also help you with that. But more importantly, as I said before, that if you feel that you have depression, that you certainly need to contact a therapist and to help you. Okay, if you have any comments, please send me a text. You could send me any text as well from my website. Actually, my email is goodfriendcounseling@gmail.com. goodfriendcounseling@gmail.com. And please leave me your comment, anything else you want me to discuss about this topic or any other topic.